Have you ever wondered how a young man born into poverty can become a successful businessman through nothing but patience, hard work, and the right guidance? Today, I will tell you the story of Jackson, which begins in the dry village of Dry Creek in New Mexico and rises to the heights of success in the land business. This story will teach you that in life, the time to begin is only today, and success does not wait for those who hesitate. Jackson was born into a humble, hardworking family in the small, sun-scorched town of Dry Creek, New Mexico, a place where the heat seemed to beat down relentlessly and the land stretched out in dry, cracked patterns that reflected the struggles of the people who lived on it. His parents, David and Maria, spent their entire lives tending to their modest farmland and caring for a few cows, chickens, and goats. Every morning before the sun peeked over the horizon, they were already awake, their hands calloused and their backs bent from years of labor. By the time night fell and the stars had begun to twinkle faintly in the darkened sky, they were still working, exhausted but determined, trying to make ends meet. Despite their relentless efforts, money was always tight, and sometimes there was barely enough food to fill their small, worn-out kitchen. Jackson witnessed this daily struggle from a young age, and it left an impression that would shape the rest of his life. From the moment he could walk and talk, Jackson was different. He wasn't content merely to observe his parents' sacrifices. He felt a deep stirring inside, a yearning for something beyond the harsh rhythm of survival. He wanted more than just to inherit the land and continue a cycle that had kept generations trapped in poverty. While he loved his parents deeply, he realized that following the same path would mean a life of endless toil and constant scarcity. He watched his father rise before dawn to milk the cows and saw him return home long after sunset, his face lined with exhaustion and worry. His mother labored in the fields and tended the animals, tirelessly working to ensure that Jackson and his siblings had some semblance of a normal childhood. But to Jackson, even the most loving gestures of his parents couldn't mask the reality. Life on the farm was difficult, and dreams often went unfulfilled. Jackson's mind began to dream of possibilities that the small town and the meager income could never provide. He imagined a life where his efforts could translate into real change, not just daily survival. In his quiet moments, he pictured himself standing tall, making decisions that could shape his own destiny rather than merely maintaining a family tradition. The thought that he could help lift his parents out of their struggles and perhaps even give them the comfort they deserved fueled an inner fire. Every chore he completed on the farm, whether it was feeding the chickens, collecting eggs, or helping mend fences, became a small lesson in responsibility, endurance, and perseverance. Even though he was young, Jackson already understood the value of hard work, yet he also sensed that hard work alone would not be enough to change his life. At the age of 12, Jackson began observing the patterns of the world beyond his family's farm. He would watch local traders and ranchers who came to buy or sell livestock and occasionally thought, if they can trade, negotiate, and build something bigger from small beginnings, why can't I? This thought planted the seed of ambition. Unlike many children his age, who dreamed of fanciful adventures or distant cities, Jackson's dreams were practical yet bold. He wanted to acquire knowledge, learn skills, and apply them to create opportunities. Every time he saw someone prosper despite humble beginnings, it confirmed his belief that life did not have to remain constrained by circumstance. The spark of determination began to grow, entwining with his desire to protect his family from further hardship. Jackson's daily life was rigorous. He woke before sunrise, helped with chores, and ran errands for his parents before heading to the small local school, where resources were minimal and classes were crowded. Though tired from the morning labor, he carried a notebook with him everywhere, jotting down observations, ideas, and questions that crossed his mind. He often asked his teachers about practical skills, business strategies, and anything that could help him understand the world beyond Dry Creek. After school, he returned to the farm, continuing his chores until the evening when the last light of day disappeared behind the arid hills. Nights were spent reading the few books he had or simply lying awake under the stars, pondering his future and envisioning a life where poverty did not dictate the terms of his existence. He knew that knowledge and creativity, combined with effort, could be his tools to break free from the cycle he was born into. Despite the hardships, Jackson's spirit was resilient. He understood that dreaming without action was futile, so he began experimenting with small ways to help improve the farm's productivity. He would rearrange animal pens for efficiency, suggest ways to water crops using less energy, and even help his father track sales to neighboring farms. While these were small contributions, they taught him the principles of problem-solving, resource management, and negotiation, skills that would prove invaluable later. Jackson's parents noticed his curiosity and ambition. Though they could not offer financial assistance or advanced education, they supported his spirit, encouraging him to take on responsibilities that challenged him, knowing that these experiences were shaping a capable and determined young man. By the time Jackson turned 15, the longing to create his own path had grown too strong to ignore. The idea of staying on the family farm, continuing the endless cycle of toil, no longer appealed to him. He packed a small satchel containing a few provisions, some bread, a water flask, and the few coins he had saved, and prepared to venture into the wider world to seek work on other ranches. This decision was not made lightly. It meant stepping into unknown territory, facing potential rejection, and confronting challenges far greater than anything he had encountered at home. Yet, his resolve was unwavering. He reminded himself constantly, "I will shape my own destiny. Through hard work and persistence, I can build a life that offers more than mere survival." This combination of youthful audacity, practicality, and deep-rooted responsibility set Jackson apart from other teenagers in Dry Creek. He was not rebelling against his family, but rather seeking to extend the fruits of their sacrifices into a legacy of opportunity and stability. Every morning's toil, every night's reflection, and every small success on the farm were threads weaving together a vision of a future where he could not only survive but thrive. It was the beginning of a journey that would demand courage, intelligence, and unwavering commitment, a journey from poverty to the first sparks of opportunity, guided by ambition and fueled by the desire to lift himself and his family to a better life. By the end of this period in his life, Jackson had formed a philosophy that would guide him for years to come. Hard work was essential, but so was observation, learning, and thinking beyond the immediate struggles. He learned that dreaming was not enough. One had to plan, take risks, and act with determination. In those quiet, challenging days of his youth in Dry Creek, Jackson laid the foundation for the person he would become, someone capable of facing rejection, learning from failure, and using every resource at his disposal to turn ambition into reality. The seeds of resilience, vision, and hope were planted, and though he did not yet know how far he could go, he carried with him the certainty that he was no longer a passive participant in life. Jackson had taken the first, decisive step toward shaping a destiny of his own making. At 15, Jackson felt the restless pull of ambition like a fire in his chest. Dry Creek, with all its arid beauty and quiet hardships, had shaped him into a resilient, thoughtful young man, but he knew that remaining on his family's farm would never allow him to reach the potential he felt stirring within. One morning, with the first light of dawn painting the cracked earth gold, he slung a small, worn satchel over his shoulder. Inside were a few pieces of hard bread, a flask of water, and a handful of coins he had painstakingly saved. This modest bundle symbolized both his preparedness and his resolve. With a deep breath, he set off toward the surrounding ranches, ready to face whatever obstacles awaited him. The first ranch was only a mile or two beyond the hills, but the journey itself felt longer because Jackson carried more than physical weight. He carried hope, anxiety, and the silent judgment of possibility against improbability. He approached the gate and knocked, anticipation mingling with the fear of rejection. An older ranch hand, tall and weathered, peered down at him and muttered, "We don't need kids here." Jackson's heart sank slightly, but he only nodded respectfully and moved on. He reminded himself, not every door will open, but that doesn't mean the journey ends. The second ranch was larger, with neat wooden fences and fat cattle grazing lazily under the sun. He knocked again, and the owner, a stern-looking man with a wide-brimmed hat, shook his head. "Come back when you've grown a bit, kid," he said, barely glancing at him. Jackson swallowed the disappointment, thanked him quietly, and walked away. Even the third ranch proved unwelcoming. A large, old dog barked and chased him a short distance before the gate closed, sending a clear message. Not everyone was ready to accept a determined 15-year-old boy. Despite these repeated setbacks, Jackson refused to falter. He had learned early that resilience was not simply a trait, it was a choice. He continued walking under the harsh sun, his shoes dusty, his stomach growling with hunger. Yet the idea of turning back never crossed his mind. Every step forward was a testament to his determination. Finally, as the sun reached its zenith, he arrived at a sprawling ranch unlike any he had seen before. The fences were straight and sturdy, the cattle plump and healthy, and the barns well-kept and orderly. This was the domain of Mr. Harper, a man whose reputation in the region preceded him. Known for his wealth, discipline, and fairness, Mr. Harper was someone who commanded respect without demanding fear. Jackson approached the large wooden door of the main barn, his heart pounding with a mix of anxiety and hope. He waited, minutes stretching longer than hours in the silence, until the door creaked open. A tall, formidable figure stood there, his eyes sharp but assessing. "What do you want, boy?" Mr. Harper's voice was a deep rumble, resonating with authority. Jackson lowered his gaze, not out of fear, but out of respect. "Sir," he said, voice steady, "I am looking for work. Other ranches wouldn't give me a chance, but I am willing to do whatever is needed." The man looked him over, from his dusty boots to the sunburned tips of his hair, and for a moment, Jackson felt as though he were being weighed on a scale invisible to him. "We don't need extra hands," Mr. Harper said slowly, his tone unreadable. "How old are you?" 15, sir." There was a pause, a moment of consideration. "You're young but eager. Bring it on. I'll call the foreman. You start tomorrow." Jackson's eyes widened, a spark of triumph igniting in his chest. "Tomorrow, sir? If possible, I can start today." Mr. Harper raised an eyebrow, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Patience, boy. Follow the foreman, and see if you can keep up. That will determine everything." From the moment Jackson stepped under the foreman's supervision, he threw himself into every task with an energy that seemed to defy his youth. Fetching water, hauling tools, repairing fences, feeding the livestock, he performed each duty with precision and speed. He observed keenly, asking thoughtful questions when appropriate and never hesitating to try tasks that intimidated him. The foreman, a man as tough as the dry land they worked on, watched Jackson with a mixture of skepticism and growing admiration. "This kid," he muttered to a fellow worker, "he does in an hour what takes others half a day. And he doesn't complain." Jackson's peers, initially dismissive of the small, wiry boy, began to notice his tireless commitment. They commented quietly among themselves about his unusual dedication and quick learning. Jackson's humility, combined with his efficiency, won him respect slowly but surely. Mr. Harper, observing from the shade of a barn, saw something in Jackson that reminded him of someone he had once cared for deeply and lost. A softness beneath the boy's determination that stirred memories and perhaps a subtle empathy he rarely displayed. Weeks turned into months, and Jackson's reputation on the ranch grew. He was no longer simply the eager boy who had arrived at 15. He had become a reliable and indispensable member of the team. Every day brought new challenges: stubborn cattle that resisted penning, broken gates that needed immediate repair, and chores that demanded ingenuity. Jackson faced each problem not with frustration, but with resourcefulness. If a gate would not stay closed, he adjusted it with nails and rope. If the cattle resisted, he studied their behavior, learning patience and strategy. With each success, his confidence grew, and so did the respect of the foreman and Mr. Harper. It became clear that Jackson's value was not measured simply by physical labor but by his intelligence, curiosity, and unwavering determination. In addition to hard work, Jackson exhibited a thirst for understanding the ranch beyond routine tasks. He asked Mr. Harper questions about livestock, crop rotation, and the business of running such an expansive operation. He wanted to know why some cattle sold for more than others, how the land could be improved, and what made certain farms profitable while others struggled. Mr. Harper, though initially wary of the persistent questioning, began to see that Jackson's curiosity was genuine. The boy wasn't just seeking a job, he was preparing himself for a future that required more than strength. It required knowledge, strategy, and foresight. Observing Jackson's progress, Mr. Harper started to invest small lessons, guiding the boy patiently, revealing insights into the world of trade, land management, and human negotiation. Each day Jackson absorbed, experimented, and refined his understanding, laying the foundation for skills that would one day turn ambition into tangible achievement. By the end of his first year, Jackson's efforts had not gone unnoticed. The foreman praised him for reliability and initiative, the other workers respected his tenacity, and Mr. Harper, who had once been indifferent, began to treat him with a rare patience and subtle mentorship. Jackson had not only found a place in a harsh, demanding environment, but he had also discovered the power of diligence, persistence, and learning through doing. The victories were small at first, completing a difficult chore without supervision, successfully penning stubborn cattle, but they built upon each other, shaping a young man capable of handling responsibility, overcoming obstacles, and embracing opportunities that many would have overlooked. Jackson's journey through the ranches, especially under the guidance of Mr. Harper, illustrates the profound impact of perseverance in the face of repeated rejection. He had confronted obstacles that could easily discourage a less determined heart, yet he persisted, demonstrating that the combination of hard work, curiosity, and humility can create a reputation and skill set far beyond one's age. By enduring the long days, learning from mistakes, and observing carefully, Jackson had not only earned his place on the ranch but had also taken the first concrete steps toward a future that promised growth, knowledge, and the potential to break free from the limitations of his humble beginnings. The audience watching Jackson's journey begins to connect deeply with his struggle, rooting for him, feeling his exhaustion, celebrating his small victories, and growing curious about what he will learn next and how he will continue to transform ambition into achievement. Under the watchful eye of Mr. Harper, Jackson began to understand that there was more to life on a ranch than feeding livestock and repairing fences. One afternoon, as they sat under the shade of a large mesquite tree, Mr. Harper leaned on a sturdy wooden stick and began to speak in a measured tone, the kind of voice that carried years of experience and quiet authority. "Jackson," he said, "there's more to this work than lifting and hauling. Life, and business, works on a principle that few understand. You don't just work to survive. You learn to create value. You learn to buy, to sell, and to improve." Jackson listened intently, his eyes wide, eager to absorb every word. The first lesson was simple in concept but profound in execution. Observe, understand, and act. Mr. Harper explained that land, livestock, and even the simplest crops had potential beyond what they appeared to offer. "You see that patch of land over there?" he asked, pointing to a small, dry, and seemingly useless corner of the ranch. "It looks worthless now, doesn't it? But with the right care, some water, and a little ingenuity, it could be the most productive part of the property. The same goes for people, opportunities, and ideas. You have to see potential where others see none." Jackson nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and challenge. This was different from anything he had learned before. This was not just manual labor, this was the beginning of strategic thinking. Mr. Harper's lessons quickly moved beyond theory. He taught Jackson how to approach small parcels of land, often overlooked by others, and to assess their true worth. They walked together through fields and plots, measuring soil quality, checking for access to water, and considering proximity to roads and towns. Jackson learned that buying land was not about acquiring as much as possible, but about understanding how a small, undervalued piece could be transformed into something far more valuable. "Never rush," Mr. Harper warned. "Patience is your greatest ally. A piece of land may look useless today, but with work, observation, and care, it can be worth far more tomorrow. The trick is to improve what you have, then use that improvement wisely." Jackson absorbed every nuance. Each walk became a lesson in observation, valuation, and foresight, turning abstract concepts into tangible experiences. Jackson's learning was not limited to land alone. Mr. Harper introduced him to the basics of negotiation and trade. "When you want something, you don't demand it," he explained. "You ask questions, listen, and understand what the other person needs. Create a solution, not a confrontation." Jackson tried this in small ways, helping his father negotiate better prices for livestock or offering suggestions to neighbors on how to improve their small plots for better yield. Slowly, he began to understand the interplay between value creation and trust. A successful deal was not just about money, it was about understanding human behavior, recognizing needs, and positioning yourself as the solution. Jackson realized that business was a careful balance of observation, patience, and strategic action, far more intricate than simply performing physical tasks. Hands-on experience became Jackson's classroom. He started to take small initiatives on the ranch, experimenting with irrigation techniques, planting patches of improved grass, and even suggesting minor improvements to barn and fence structures that increased efficiency. He observed the impact of his actions, noting which strategies worked and which did not. Mistakes were inevitable, but Mr. Harper treated them as lessons rather than failures. "Every mistake is a chance to learn," he would say. "The world doesn't reward perfection. It rewards those who adapt, persist, and improve." Jackson began to internalize this mindset. He no longer feared failure. He understood it as a necessary step toward mastery and eventual success. One particularly dry season provided a pivotal learning experience. The ranch's small irrigation system failed, and the grass in one field turned brown and brittle. While other workers despaired, Jackson saw an opportunity to experiment with water distribution and soil improvement. He worked long hours under the scorching sun, testing different techniques and observing their effects. Some experiments failed, some partially succeeded, but gradually he began to restore green patches where nothing had grown. Mr. Harper watched quietly, smiling occasionally, understanding that Jackson was developing an intuition for both land management and the subtleties of resource optimization. Jackson realized that creating value was about seeing possibilities where others saw obstacles and having the patience and creativity to turn potential into results. Jackson also developed an acute sense of financial discipline. Every coin he earned was carefully saved, not squandered on fleeting pleasures. He tracked small investments, calculated costs, and envisioned how minor expenditures today could lead to larger returns tomorrow. This was a radical concept for a 15-year-old, but Jackson was motivated by a desire not just to better his life but to help his family rise above the struggles that had defined their existence. Every dollar saved, every lesson applied, and every small improvement made on the ranch was a step toward autonomy and independence. He understood that wealth was not simply earned through hard work alone but through intelligent action and strategic planning. As the months passed, Jackson began to take initiative in negotiating small trades under Mr. Harper's guidance. He learned to approach neighbors to acquire small, overlooked plots of land, assessing their potential and convincing the owners that his vision was feasible. He was learning not just to buy land, but to understand the art of creating demand and demonstrating value. These lessons were subtle but transformative. Jackson was cultivating judgment, patience, communication skills, and a sense of timing, all critical elements of successful business practice. Perhaps the most profound lesson Jackson absorbed was the importance of vision. Mr. Harper emphasized that transactions were not just about immediate gain but about long-term outcomes. "Never chase quick rewards," he instructed. "Focus on what can grow, what can improve, what can create opportunity for the future. Your work, your decisions, should always serve a purpose beyond today." Jackson internalized this principle, seeing each task, each negotiation, and each small plot of land as a stepping stone toward a larger dream. He understood that success required planning, foresight, and the courage to make incremental investments in time, effort, and knowledge. Over time, Jackson's curiosity and diligence began to transform him. He no longer saw himself merely as a laborer but as a student of life, business, and strategy. Every action he took was deliberate, every decision measured, and every failure a lesson. His parents, observing his progress from the farm, were amazed at the transformation of their once small boy into a young man capable of seeing beyond the limitations of Dry Creek. Jackson's goal was never to accumulate wealth for vanity. It was to create stability for his family and independence for himself. He understood that money without wisdom was meaningless, and hard work without strategy could be wasted. By the end of this period, Jackson had developed the core principles that would guide him for life. patience, observation, calculated risk-taking, and the ability to create and recognize value where others saw none. He had learned that the art of buying and selling was not a mechanical process but a skill that combined practical knowledge with emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, and perseverance. The audience watching Jackson's journey sees more than a boy learning business. They witness the development of a mind capable of transforming raw potential into tangible success, of turning ambition into action, and of combining discipline with intelligence to create a life that is not merely survived but thoughtfully and skillfully built. Jackson had spent years learning the subtleties of land, trade, and hard work under the careful guidance of Mr. Harper, and now he was ready to take the first tangible step in applying everything he had absorbed. It was a crisp morning when he finally mustered the courage to make his first real investment, a small, neglected plot of land just off the main road leading into Dry Creek. The plot was unimpressive, to say the least. The soil was hard and dry, patches of brittle grass dotted the ground, and there was no shade to speak of. Even a small lizard seemed to struggle under the harsh sun. But Jackson saw what others did not. He remembered Mr. Harper's lessons: value isn't what it looks like now, it's what you can create. The moment he signed the papers, a mix of fear and excitement surged through him. This was more than a purchase. It was a test of all he had learned, a challenge to turn theory into reality. Returning home, he shared the news with his parents, whose eyes widened with pride and concern. "Jackson, are you sure?" his father asked, worry etched in every line of his face. "It's not just money, it's time, energy, and your sweat." Jackson smiled, determination shining through. "I've learned what to do, Father. This is the first step. With patience and care, it will grow, and we will all benefit." His mother's hands trembled slightly as she clasped his shoulder. "We trust you, son. Whatever it takes, we'll help." That simple exchange, the quiet encouragement and belief from his family, fueled Jackson's resolve. He knew he was not alone. Their support was as crucial as any instruction from Mr. Harper. Jackson began the work immediately, rising before dawn each day and carrying water, digging trenches, and preparing the soil for planting. The initial days were grueling. His hands blistered from shoveling hard, dry earth, and his body ached from the unfamiliar labor. Each day, he reminded himself that this was part of the process. Success was never easy. He carefully followed the principles he had observed on Mr. Harper's ranch, assessing the land's weaknesses, improving what could be improved, and always thinking several steps ahead. He dug a small irrigation system, testing water flow and ensuring that even the driest patches would receive moisture. Each droplet of water that touched the parched soil felt like a promise, a whisper of what was possible through patience and perseverance. The first week brought frustration as the dry, stubborn earth seemed almost unyielding. Jackson wrestled with the soil, pulling rocks, loosening hardened clumps, and planting seeds where he thought growth might be possible. The local neighbors watched curiously, some shaking their heads at what they considered a fool's endeavor. "That patch of land will never grow anything," they muttered to each other, doubt dripping from every word. Jackson heard them but did not falter. He reminded himself constantly of Mr. Harper's lessons. The world rewards those who persist where others give up, who see potential where others see despair. Every challenge became an opportunity to innovate. If the soil resisted, he experimented with different planting techniques. If the water did not reach a patch, he redirected the flow with ingenuity and determination. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, the first signs of life began to emerge. A faint green shoot broke through the soil, almost imperceptible at first, but it marked the beginning of transformation. Jackson celebrated quietly, knowing that the reward was not in spectacle but in steady progress. He tended the land meticulously, ensuring that each sprout was nourished and protected. He divided the plot into sections, planting grasses in one area and experimenting with hardy crops in another. The process was painstaking, but each small success reinforced his belief that deliberate effort combined with strategy could overcome even the most discouraging circumstances. As the plot gradually transformed from barren land to a productive, green space, Jackson's confidence soared. The once dry, lifeless field now had patches of rich green grass, a sign that his labor, planning, and patience were paying off. He invited neighbors to observe, and even some skeptics began to acknowledge the results. Jackson understood that the value of the land was not just in its physical appearance but in its potential to generate income. This was the principle Mr. Harper had drilled into him. Improvement and vision were the cornerstones of success. When the time came to sell a portion of the land, Jackson approached the process with the careful negotiation skills he had been honing for years. He did not rush, he did not overpromise, and he did not act desperate. He listened to the buyer, understood their needs, and positioned the land as a solution to a problem they had, not just as a piece of property. This section has fertile soil and access to water, he explained, pointing to the small irrigation trenches he had constructed. With the right care, it can produce grass for livestock year-round. The buyer, impressed by the thoughtfulness and practicality of the approach, agreed to purchase at a price that exceeded Jackson's original investment by a significant margin. The first transaction was complete, and Jackson felt a rush of exhilaration unlike anything he had experienced before. It was tangible proof that patience, effort, and intelligence could yield results. The financial gain, while significant for Jackson, was only part of the triumph. More importantly, he had proven to himself that he could take initiative, apply his knowledge, and achieve a meaningful result. The sense of accomplishment was profound. He had turned what others dismissed as worthless into something valuable. He rushed home to share the news with his parents, who embraced him with pride and joy. Their encouragement and active participation in his efforts, whether helping carry buckets of water or simply offering words of motivation, strengthened the bond between them and reinforced Jackson's determination. Together, they celebrated not only the financial success but the life lesson embedded within. Perseverance, careful planning, and unwavering focus could transform even the most challenging circumstances. Jackson's first land deal also taught him a vital lesson in emotional resilience. There were days when the land seemed stubborn, when seedlings withered under heat, or when insects threatened the crops. At those moments, frustration and doubt crept in, but he learned to temper these feelings with patience and perspective. He recalled Mr. Harper's words, "Success is never immediate. Every effort counts, and persistence compounds over time." By approaching challenges methodically, Jackson discovered that setbacks were not failures. They were simply part of the learning process. Each obstacle overcome reinforced his self-confidence and sharpened his problem-solving skills. By the time the green patches flourished and the first sale was successfully completed, Jackson had gained more than money. He had acquired discipline, patience, resilience, and a concrete understanding of how effort, strategy, and careful execution could turn potential into tangible reward. This experience marked a critical turning point. It was no longer just a lesson in agriculture or business. It was a profound lesson in life. Jackson's heart swelled with both pride and gratitude. The path ahead was still long, but he had proven to himself that with consistent effort, intelligent planning, and determination, no challenge was insurmountable. He felt capable, empowered, and motivated to take on increasingly ambitious goals. Jackson's journey through his first land purchase and the resulting success left a lasting impression on him. The experience reinforced the importance of preparation, diligence, and adaptability. Every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, and every painstaking adjustment to the land had transformed both the plot and Jackson himself. His initial fears and doubts were replaced by a growing confidence in his ability to shape his own destiny. It was a vivid, lived affirmation of everything Mr. Harper had been teaching him. The combination of patience, persistence, and practical wisdom could convert humble beginnings into remarkable achievement. For Jackson, the green land was more than a piece of earth. It was the first tangible proof that he could create value, generate income, and, most importantly, realize his dreams. By the time Jackson reached the age of 35, the boy who had once wandered from ranch to ranch with nothing but a small satchel and a burning dream had transformed into a confident and successful entrepreneur. The years of patient effort, meticulous observation, and calculated risks had culminated in a sprawling network of properties, thriving crops, and a well-managed ranch that rivaled even Mr. Harper's holdings. Each parcel of land Jackson had acquired, improved, and sold told the story of persistence and intelligence in action. Every transaction, every laborious day spent under the sun, and every lesson learned from his mentor had built the foundation for a life that was no longer dictated by poverty but defined by vision, discipline, and skill. Jackson often walked through his lands, reflecting on the journey that had brought him here. He remembered the countless mornings when he rose before dawn, the blisters on his hands, the discouraging words from neighbors, and the long days of experimentation and trial. He realized that each obstacle, rather than being a setback, had been a building block, teaching him resilience, problem-solving, and the art of strategic thinking. The transformation from a struggling teenager into a prosperous landowner was not the result of luck. It was the product of consistent, intelligent effort. Jackson understood now that success required more than mere hard work. It required vision, patience, and the courage to start small and think long-term. One sunny afternoon, Jackson found himself visiting the town square, a place that once seemed intimidating and distant in his youth. As he walked past familiar streets, he noticed faces that had once doubted him and heard whispers of surprise at his achievements. The transformation of his life was visible not only in his properties and wealth but in the confidence and poise with which he carried himself. He had become someone who could inspire others, not just through his words, but through the tangible proof of what dedication and thoughtful action could accomplish. Jackson understood that true success was not only in acquiring wealth but in the ability to share lessons, mentor others, and demonstrate the value of discipline, perseverance, and wisdom. It was on one of these walks that he encountered Mr. Harper, now older, with gray hair and weathered hands, sitting beneath the shade of a large oak tree. Jackson approached with a deep sense of gratitude, remembering how his mentor had patiently guided him through the early stages of work, business, and life lessons. "Mr. Harper," he said, presenting 2 glasses of cold lemonade he had brought, "thank you. Without your guidance, I would have never started, never understood the value of persistence, observation, and careful planning." Mr. Harper's eyes twinkled faintly behind the wrinkles of time, his voice carrying the same calm authority it had all those years ago. "Jackson," he replied, "you did this yourself. I only pointed the way. What matters is that you listened, learned, and acted. That is how life works." As they shared a quiet moment, Jackson reflected on the lessons he had internalized over decades. He understood that wealth and achievement were temporary without wisdom and discipline to sustain them. He knew that patience, attention to detail, and the ability to improve even small opportunities were the keys to long-term success. Jackson had seen firsthand that starting small was not a limitation. It was a strategic advantage. Each small step, each deliberate choice, had compounded over time to create something far greater than the sum of its parts. This understanding now allowed him to mentor others, sharing his journey and showing that determination coupled with strategic action could overcome almost any circumstance. Jackson's life had become a living lesson in the principles he had been taught and had refined himself. He often shared stories with young people and neighbors, emphasizing the importance of taking action immediately rather than waiting for perfect conditions or luck to appear. "Don't wait for someone to hand you an opportunity," he would say. "Start today, even if it's small. Observe, learn, and act. Work patiently, work intelligently, and your efforts will compound over time." He stressed that the journey to success was rarely smooth, but perseverance, coupled with a willingness to learn from mistakes, could turn setbacks into advantages. The message resonated with everyone who heard him, as it was grounded not in theory, but in the lived experience of a man who had transformed his life from poverty to prosperity. Jackson's final and perhaps most powerful realization was that the present moment is the only time anyone truly has. Waiting for circumstances, waiting for permission, or waiting for luck was a trap. The best day to start is today, he would tell anyone willing to listen. Life will not wait for you. If you want something, begin now. Discipline, dedication, and thoughtful work will take you far more than hesitation or idle dreams. This principle, tested and proven through decades of effort, became his core philosophy and the guiding lesson he imparted to all who sought advice. Even as a successful landowner and businessman, Jackson remained humble, remembering the blisters, the dusty roads, and the long days that had shaped his character. He understood that true wealth was not only in material possessions but in the growth of skill, understanding, and resilience. His journey had taught him that success was a combination of effort, knowledge, patience, and courage. Each of these elements was critical. Effort provided the foundation, knowledge allowed strategic decisions, patience ensured perseverance through difficulties, and courage allowed him to act despite fear and uncertainty. Jackson's story concluded with a powerful message that resonated far beyond the fields and ranches of Dry Creek. His life embodied the idea that anyone, regardless of background or circumstance, could create their own path to success. All it required was the willingness to start, the courage to persist, and the wisdom to act intelligently. The story served as a reminder that life does not wait for anyone. Every day presents an opportunity to move forward, to learn, to improve, and to achieve. By embracing this mindset, Jackson had turned humble beginnings into a life of accomplishment and fulfillment, demonstrating that the combination of patience, discipline, insight, and hard work could overcome even the most daunting challenges. For those who listened to or read his journey, the lesson was clear and inspiring. Stop making excuses, stop waiting for the right moment, and begin today. Every small action, every learned lesson, every deliberate step brings you closer to your goals. The boy who had once walked dusty roads with nothing but dreams had become proof that persistence, strategy, and intelligent effort could turn ambition into reality. Jackson's life became a testament to the power of action, perseverance, and the courage to start, echoing a message that motivates, empowers, and guides anyone willing to pursue their own dreams relentlessly.